thank you for coming here today. We are breaking ground on this wonderful facility that will house 51 seniors and veterans. We are really appreciative of all of the people who have helped along the way. You will hear from two of the most important ones shortly. I am charged mostly with acknowledging a number of people. My name is Kevin Murray. I'm the president and CEO of the Weingart Center Association. Thank you. First, I have to acknowledge a relatively long list of people, but they say that success has many masters, and you're going to hear from two of the best. But first, let me acknowledge our board members. First, our board chair, Mr. Warren Louie, and his lovely wife, Rose, who most days is more important to me than he is. But and also our treasurer and the chair of our finance committee, Dave Jones. One of the things that's interesting about this project is that we went from being awarded an RFP to entitlements to now in essentially 1 year. And one of the things I want to do is, again, thank our mayor and our city council person, but not most importantly, but additionally, I want to thank the Los Angeles City Planning Department and its head, Vince Bertoni, because they really moved this along. This is an example of what everyone can do when they want to move things along. And because it's built modular, as you can look at some of these drawings, not just each unit, but a module comes with 2 units and a hallway. So our construction time is somewhere between 10 and 14 months, which is about half or less of what it normally takes to build a facility like this. And so let me get through some of the rest of our acknowledgments before I bring up our illustrious mayor and councilperson. I want to thank the California Housing and Community Development Department, the Housing Authority of LA, Christine Kachaktian. Do I have that correct? Hopefully I'm close, and I apologize, Christine. The California Department of Veterans Affairs, because we're also going to be housing veterans, the Los Angeles County Department of Health Services, the Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco and its president and CEO, Teresa Bazemore. United Way, I think Jason is here. Jason Riff. Are you here, Jason? The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, again, Jennifer Lemus. The California Debt Limit Allocation Committee. The County Supervisor Sheila Kuehl's office. We're in the 3rd District of the California Tax Credit Allocation Department, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, Home Depot, which gave us a rather large grant to help with the pre-development of this building, so let's give it up. Our wonderful architects, Perkins and Will, who I think have done a fabulous job. Our contractor, Swinnerton, represented by Mr. Rick Vaughn. Where are you, Rick? Wave your hands. At least I thought I saw Rick. And Wayne Hayden from our Silver Creek, our module maker. So again, without further ado, I'm going to bring up our illustrious councilman, who, by the way, was just 100% on point in wanting to get this done. A lot of this was his vision, and so let me bring up the councilman for the 5th District, Mr. Paul Koretz.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm so pleased to be here to celebrate the groundbreaking of these 50 units of permanent supportive housing here in the 5th Council District. It's the first HHH site in our district, and I'm thrilled that we're able to partner with Weingart and Valued Housing, architects Perkins Will, and so many supportive partners on this desperately needed project. I'm also proud of the fact that through the innovation of the architects and contractors, Using prefabricated modular construction, the per unit costs are some of the lowest in the HHH program. I know that this project will continue to be managed well both through construction and beyond, with Weingart at the helm. I hope that this can be an example of how beautifully designed, well-built, quickly built, and cost-efficient an HHH project can be as an example for all of our future efforts. You all know the public crisis we're in now. I don't have to explain it or describe it. And while these 50 units won't solve the huge problem we have now, it will solve problems for the 50 people that need our help. Every bit we can do to find housing and provide the long-term supportive services for homeless individuals is vital. We have to keep pushing for more locations, for more housing of all types, transitional housing, tiny homes, safe parking and sleeping, and many more permanent supportive housing sites. My district has been notorious for not having a lot of publicly or privately owned available properties, and for having high property values which limit what the city can buy or lease. Yet I will continue to push on my city council colleagues to fight through the red tape and bring new affordable housing opportunities online so we can continue to provide the safe spaces our homeless population so desperately needs. I also want to recognize the community around this project. We've heard all kinds of stories across the city of communities opposing various types of homeless housing, complete with torches and pitchforks. But I haven't seen that here in West LA. This community was open to hearing about the project and understood how important it is to solve our homeless crisis. In the end, while a few may have been opposed, I'm proud to say that the elected community leadership of the West Side Neighborhood Council voted unanimously to support this project. And our neighborhood group, Westwood South of Santa Monica, was also very supportive as well. I'm so proud of our community and its strong support. And I look forward to standing with all of you next year at the grand opening. And now I'd like to introduce Mayor Eric Garcetti. Mayor Garcetti has been leading the city through what has been the great crisis of our times. His leadership has enabled us to pass HHH and H, are two measures that will provide thousands of permanent supportive housing units and critical services. He's led the effort to create substantial amounts of bridge housing to get people off the streets and then to transition them to longer-term housing solutions. He's gotten many millions of dollars from the state to help battle homelessness and has put almost $1 billion this year into his budget to help us get through this. His leadership is helping us turn the corner on this crisis, and so without further ado, our Mayor Eric Garcetti.
Let's give it up again for our council member and the entire CD5 staff that brought us here to this day. Congratulations, everybody. And a very, very good morning. I'm so excited to be here in a place that is near and dear to my heart. I went to elementary school just up the street. This is a place that I used to come New Year's to perversely celebrate the resetting of the clock up here that talks about cancer deaths. We would, friends of I, we'd go here to watch it go to zero at New Year's every day every night as a teenager during New Year's. But this area is a place I've shopped, I've eaten in, I've spent time in. It's a place that to me is really the heart of Los Angeles. And the heart of Los Angeles is reflected in this council member who, when we challenged every council district to find places to build housing for our unhoused neighbors, Paul Koretz was tireless, and he's got the toughest district to find land in. It's expensive, it's dense, there's not a lot that's there, but he persevered. And I'm proud to say that we have now breaking ground or in the pre-construction phase or finished an HHH project in every single council district in the city of Los Angeles, thanks to your leadership. I'm also here with a dream team of so many folks that made this happen. Weingart is the tip of the spear and has been for so long when it comes to fighting to end homelessness in Los Angeles, which has to be our stated goal. I know it still feels like a big pile of dirt in front of us, not just literally, but the problem of homelessness. But imagine how big it would be if we hadn't challenged the city to step up, if we hadn't partners like Weingart, if we hadn't challenged the city leadership to take responsibility for something the city has very little jurisdictional authority over, the drivers into homelessness and the solutions out of homelessness. We don't have a mental health care system. We don't run the foster care system. We're not in charge of the state correctional system. We aren't the Veterans Administration dealing with veterans coming home from war. All those things that meet to create trauma in people's lives, mental health, addiction, losing a job. The city has very few levers out of. We have police department, we have a sanitation bureau, but you can't clean your way or arrest your way out of homelessness. But we challenged ourselves as a city to take greater responsibility, to bring the parties together. And we couldn't do it without the partners like Weingart and builders like Valued Housing, who are just doing such tremendous work. The development and construction teams here, folks know the story of this. It's quite a story. It was, as we know, this is a Department of Transportation lot. One of the challenges, every challenge anybody's ever given us, we said, great, we accept it. And one of them was inventory all the land across Los Angeles that's quote unquote surplus property. Now people see that we have thousands of pieces of land, but most of them are in these narrow strips that, might be a Department of Water and Power right of way, something which you can't build on, something which has no plumbing, has no electricity. But when we looked here and we saw this lot, it seemed perfect. 3 or 4 years ago, an MOU was created between all the city departments, our city administrative officer, our Department of Transportation, our housing department, to look for these sorts of lots. And we created a policy that when there's 24 spaces or less, it would streamline things, that you didn't have to have replacement parking in that neighborhood. That allowed us to have that speed here because we have to meet this crisis with the urgency that the crisis demands. And it highlights to us that those partnerships, both inside the city and outside. You're seeing that across the city now. In Venice, where I've been spending time, we have 77 people that we've brought indoors just since June 21st on our oceanfront walk, 10 additional folks from the handball courts that were there. That's 87 people in just a matter of a few weeks. Placements that are voluntary, making good progress, and partners like St. Joe's, which is a sister organization to the Weingart Center. But the service providers that will be here, the folks, whether it's the VA, and as a veteran myself, I'm so pleased and want to thank the VA of Greater Los Angeles Healthcare System and the Departments of Veterans Affairs, because we go by tents with American flags on them that have service members living on our streets. And one of the great successes actually of the last 8 years has been we've reduced veterans homelessness by 80%. But we have to bring that last 20% home. The capital providers who stepped up once we had the vision, including JP Morgan Chase, Enterprise, which has been a fabulous partner for decades, California Department of Housing Community Development, and the California Department of Veterans Affairs. HACLA, our housing authority, which stepped up as well. The sandwich you have to build to get one of these things done, both in the financing and the partnerships, is more complicated than the deli sandwich with everything on it. It's like 20 layers thick. But we couldn't do this, as Councilmember Kretz said too, without community support. And I also wanted to pile on and thank our neighborhood council and neighborhood association, West Side Neighborhood Council, who didn't just vote for it, they gave their time and their support to this. And I want to thank the voters of Los Angeles who overwhelmingly, with a historic vote, said yes to HHH. And contrary to what you might hear in the news sometimes, and that's not your fault, don't worry, it's just other reports that have been out there, HHH is coming in 1,000 units more than we promised, 2 years earlier than we said, for $15,000 less of subsidy per unit. Faster, bigger, cheaper. Now, it's not going to solve homelessness on its own. It's only about 11,000 units of housing, and we have to double down on that, which is why, as Councilmember Kretz said, we've been challenging our federal and our state partners to meet that. And I want to thank Governor Newsom and the legislature, who just announced a weekend and a half ago that they will step up with $1 billion a year to the 13 big cities, a program that I pushed for when I chaired that group a few years ago, and alongside the mayors of Oakland and Sacramento and San Diego and Long Beach and Riverside and Stockton, we got to lock in for the next 2 years, which means more than 150 million more will come to just the city of Los Angeles to build on these sorts of projects as well. And so when we look at today and what we're doing, we are making history. Only thing I will respectfully disagree with Councilmember Kretz is 50 doesn't just make a difference for these folks. because it joins what is now 170 plus projects underway in Los Angeles. Think about that. More homeless housing in the last 3 years than the previous 30 years. So whoever inherits my office, whoever becomes the next council member for this district, because the two of us, we might still be here at the ribbon cutting.
This will be fast.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty fast. But even if it's a day or two later, they will inherit momentum in the city. I want the people of Los Angeles to know you will see momentum, feel momentum, see tents coming off our streets and people coming into housing. And at the end of the day, to kind of quote Robert Browning's poem about the artist Andrea del Sarto, there's a great line that a man's reach, and we should say a man or woman's reach, should always exceed his or her grasp. In other words, we always reach for things like the end of homelessness that we think we might not be able to hold because it is the right thing to do. And every time the city has faced a challenge or a crisis and people bet against us, I always say, don't bet against LA. We have met that challenge, and we just may be able to hold that which seems beyond our grasp. So let a man's reach always exceed his grasp. And the second line of that poem says, after all, what's a heaven for? And today we're building a small piece of that. That here, I don't want to mix too many metaphors, we're not paving paradise and putting up a parking lot. We're paving a parking lot and putting up paradise. And we're going to do something that will help this community, help this city build truly a city of angels. Is there any Spanish? Anybody need Spanish? Okay, let me, muy brevemente también en español. Muy buenos días a todos y gracias por el liderazgo del concejal Pablo Coretz. Aquí, este concejal y este distrito ha demostrado el liderazgo que necesitamos en la ciudad de Los Ángeles. El día de hoy estamos aquí para empezar construcción en un proyecto crítico en la ciudad de Los Ángeles. Un proyecto de vivienda de apoyo permanente. It's going to be great visuals. We really can build things here in Los Angeles. Este es un proyecto de vivienda de apoyo permanente para algunos de nuestros veteranos y personas de edad avanzada en nuestra ciudad que están experimentando la falta de un hogar. Hoy hay 50 proyectos como este que están en construcción en la ciudad de Los Ángeles como el resultado de proposición HHH, gracias a los votantes, porque el apoyo está aquí. Y en conjunto estos 50 edificios tendrán un total de 3.219 unidades de vivienda crítica. Cada de estas unidades serán un hogar para aquellos angelinos que se encuentran sin un lugar donde puede sanar. Y este es la propiedad de la ciudad de Los Ángeles. Este es gratis, esta tierra. Y este proyecto, nuestra meta está completido de este proyecto en solamente un año. Nada es más urgente. Es por eso que me complace decir que estamos 2 años por delante de lo previsto en entregar viviendas asequibles y de apoyo. Hay que mantener el paso, continuamos trabajando arduamente cada día para nuestros hermanos y hermanas. Por ejemplo, en Venice ahora estamos trabajando muy duro y como resultado de este trabajo hay 77 personas con el refugio ahora que en las semanas pasadas no existen. Este es un gran día por Los Ángeles, por la ciudad de Los Ángeles, y gracias al concejal Paul Coretz por su liderazgo. With that, I'll toss it back to our MC.
Only our mayor could start with Robert Browning and end with Joni Mitchell. I've been racking my brain for a good Tupac quote to keep the trajectory going. I want to do a couple of other acknowledgments. So first, I have to acknowledge, my partner in, I was going to say in crime, but we don't want to say that. But our COO, Tanya Boykin. I also want to acknowledge our development team, Ben Rosen and Erica Nicolay. Where are you guys? And then the people you see making sure this is good, Grace Espinoza, Jericho, and where's Tanita? Oh, there, and Tanita James. So one of the things you have to have when you build one of these projects is you have to have great partners. And so I'm now going to bring up our great partner, Mr. Peter Barker from Valued Housing.
Good morning, everybody. We were really humbled when we were invited by Senator Murray and the Weingart Foundation to partner on this project. And we couldn't ask for better partners. They don't do things the easy way. They pick a very complicated project, and you can see through the speed and innovation of the design that they know how to do it the right way. Not only is this is the first of many for them, and they're going to put their mark on ending homelessness, not only here, but throughout the city of Los Angeles. So I want to acknowledge Senator Murray and his team, Tanya and Ben, and the rest of them for such a fantastic project. I want to, Councilmember Koretz, your team was at the table from day one, providing insight, support, and innovation, and we want to thank you for that, along with the community here. Mayor Garcetti, we have walked affordable housing development since you were a council member. This is not new to you. You've made this a priority for many, many years, decades, and again, thank you for your support on continuing the progress that we're making today. There are a lot of names. There's a lot of people that are involved to develop these. These are complex. They take a lot of partners. I'm not going to name all of them today. They've been acknowledged and will continue to be, but we're thrilled to partner with J.M. Chase again on a project. They have been huge supporters of affordable housing developments, and especially those with homeless issues and special needs issues. Enterprise, the forefront of partnering and providing equity on these types of complex developments. So thank you very much for your continued support as well, Regan. And again, we need to continue the fight. This is just part of it. This is part of the solution. HHH has done a fantastic job of beginning and continuing to end homelessness, but it's going to take the entire community to do so. We're thrilled to be part of it on this particular site, and encourage all of you to support projects throughout and initiatives to address this important issue. Thank you very much. Thank you again.
As was previously mentioned, these projects, all of those names up there have some part in our financing, but leading the charge in this particular case is J.P. Morgan Chase. And so now we'd like to have a few words from James Vossahy from J.P. Morgan Chase.
Thank you, Kevin. So great to be here today. I don't know if you've got a chance to look at those interior photos. I haven't seen those yet, but I mean, it's such a beautiful project. And I mean, you could see that no details left unspared just from the large lettering on the outside of the unit, so the seniors can see which unit is there. They've really done a tremendous job here with this project, and the rooftop garden as well. But what a beautiful occasion it is to be here today to celebrate a groundbreaking, an in-person groundbreaking nonetheless. And what Weingart has accomplished here with this groundbreaking for what will truly be a special and tremendously impactful community for this area. And it hasn't been noted yet, but the fantastic location just a half a mile from the Veterans Administration Medical Center to the population it will serve of formerly homeless seniors, many of which will be formerly homeless senior and veterans, to its innovative modular design and the development team itself. This community will be one of a kind, and we couldn't be more pleased to provide the short and long-term financing for this project. We here at Chase, we're committed to innovative ideas and rising to the challenge of meeting developers' needs of housing our vulnerable neighbors, which is exactly why standing by Weingart and this community is so important to us. We'd like to thank everyone involved. I won't name them all again, you can see them all here, but we'd like to thank everyone involved. I'd also like to thank my colleagues Andrew and Peter, who were instrumental as well, and Valued Housing for their role, and finally Weingart again, Kevin, and especially Ben and Erica. I don't think they've got enough acknowledgement yet, but they were critical to us being here today. So thank you, Ben and Erica. It wouldn't have been possible without you. And finally, thank you to everyone again, and let's get construction started. Let's get this project built and these senior residents in their new homes.
Another leg in our stool of financing is Enterprise, which is a longtime nonprofit and supporter of affordable housing. So let's bring up Regan Makesling.
Good morning. Thank you, Senator Murray. It is an absolute pleasure to be convening with all of you this morning. This is the first in-person event I have attended since the pandemic started, and I cannot think of a better reason to gather. And celebrating the start of construction for 50 new homes for some of the neediest senior and veteran neighbors is so meaningful as we come together off this 4th of July weekend celebrating our nation's 245th birthday. The fact that affordable housing was deemed an essential activity during the pandemic is an understatement. And while the work continues, we know that the need has grown over the past 15 months. At Enterprise, we're on a mission to make home and community places of pride, power, and belonging, and platforms for resilience and upward mobility for all. This new development will do exactly that. And we could not be more proud to partner with Weingart Center Association, Valued Housing, and the terrific development and finance teams. We look forward to watching the transformation of this parking lot and through the utilization of modular housing and incorporating green features that will promote sustainability while ensuring healthy living environments. But most importantly, we look forward to a grand opening when we will celebrate 50 new homes for unhoused seniors and veterans in our community. Congratulations, Weingart Center, Valued Housing, and the entire team.
One more acknowledgement and a couple of things to point out. Again, one of the other institutions that very much supports affordable housing around our state is the Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco. So I want to point out the president and CEO, Teresa Bazemore, who I may have mentioned earlier, but she's graced us with her presence, and their commitment to affordable housing is unequaled. And just before we actually turn the dirt, I want to point out a few things. Not only is this going to house seniors and veterans, but it's also going to be kind of a no-barrier place. We're going to take all kinds of animals. You'll see that we have that roof deck where people don't even have to leave the facility in order to take their animals out. I think it was pointed out the sort of large numbers on the door. So with our architects, we've tried to take into account many of the possibilities and challenges that seniors and veterans face and tried to meet them. And we want to point out that one of the things, and we think one of the things that helped us get support from the community was the design. You'll notice that the design is not a boxy a design, but is something which has curves and lives and feels like it should be part of this community. So with that, thank everybody for their help, and now we'll move over and turn some dirt. Thank you.